Before we start the show, this Raw review from Monday, October 22nd, 2018, and there will be a show, because like Vince McMahon has said for decades, and Paul Heyman just said last night, the show must go on. And it will. But I find it fitting that the only way to go about this is to keep the first segment of last night's Raw, keep it a separate segment in this video. And that's what I intend to do. If Roman Reigns can have the fucking balls and be man enough to come out of character in front of the world last night in that ring, then the least I can do is come out of character in this video and on this channel. And that's what I intend to do, and I'm going to do. For right now, I don't come before you as the amplified man. I come to you as just BC. And I talk something very real that happened in the professional wrestling world last night. Because that is something that in the professional wrestling world we struggle with at all times. What is real and what is a work? We never quite know. At the beginning of Roman Reigns' promo last night, I still was questioning the validity of it. Because let's not forget, this is Vince McMahon we're talking about. Do you guys remember Katie Vick? I can go on and on. I've seen some crazy, wild stuff from Vince McMahon in storyline-wise and how far they were willing to go. And they crossed the line many, many fucking times. But it didn't take long before we all realized that this was very real. And Roman Reigns got in the middle of that ring and he announced that he was battling what is really a deadly disease. And it became all too real for pro wrestling fans because we all live in this fantasy world. If you're like me, for decades, I have had the privilege to have one of my main passions in life be professional wrestling, which means, and I call it a privilege because that means for decades, I've gotten to follow superheroes. How cool is that? And superheroes don't fall. So when I hear something of Macho Man Randy Savage passing away, or the Ultimate Warrior passing away, or Rowdy Piper passing away, it crushes me. At the very foundation of who BC is, the very soul that I have, because pro wrestling is such a big part of my life. And these are superheroes to me. Like they were when I was 9 years old, into my 30s, they'll always be superheroes to me. Well into my 60s, 70s, and hopefully beyond. They will always be superheroes to me. And I know to many of you. So when you see somebody so young, like Roman Reigns, so young, younger than me, declare that he has been battling this disease for 11 years and never really told anybody. Obviously his family, close friends, but the world never really knew. And he put his head down and he grinded day after day, knowing the battles that he had and could still face. Joe, the man behind Roman Reigns, the man who plays the character Roman Reigns, I have so much more utmost respect for Joe than I ever fucking had before. And I already had an utmost. It always amazed me when people would come to me and say, BC, why do you hate Roman Reigns so much? And I would honestly, I would be mind-boggled. Where do you get I hate Roman Reigns? Not just Joe, but the character Roman Reigns. There's no hate. There was disgust. There was a strong dislike for the character's direction and where Vince was putting him. And how Vince McMahon was so stubborn that he did not see, or maybe he did see, but his stubbornness blocked him from changing anything. But Vince McMahon clearly had to have seen that for 4 years, Roman Reigns' direction, it was a failure. He had a fan base, but Kurt Hawkins has a fan base for that matter. Granted, nothing near Roman Reigns', but my point is everyone has a fan base who's on television. No matter the size of it, there's a fan base. your 50-50 reaction could have been 90-10, 95-5, maybe 100% like back in the Stone Cold days if you turned him heel. It doesn't take just BC to tell you that. Everybody within the industry and fans alike was telling you we have to at least see Roman turn heel to know what he's fully capable of. That's all we wanted to see. We said that about The Rock. And when you finally turned The Rock heel, what happened? The Rock became The Rock. Dwayne Johnson became The Rock. Rocky Maivia became The Rock. We wouldn't steer you wrong. If Roman turned heel, even if just for a year, and you turned him into the dastardly heel we know he could be, he could have been fucking epic. Vince refused to do it and kept on the same path. This turned into not just fun boos at the arenas, this turned into disgust. It got to the point where we didn't want to see Roman Reigns on the TVs or in our arenas. That's just truth and that's fact, guys. There was never hatred for obviously Joe or for Roman Reigns. But there was a disgust for his character and character direction. And that stems mostly from Vince McMahon. Never hate. And that again, you walk the line between what is real and what is a work. Love for a pro wrestler and hate for a pro wrestler. And sometimes the lines are blurred. But Roman Reigns and Joe, the man behind the character Roman Reigns, last night they stepped out of that and they brought to us something very real. Something all too real. Something very downright scary. And as we can offer Roman Reigns and Joe all of these thoughts and prayers, and I will, by the way, and we should, I take comfort and solace in knowing that Roman Reigns is one of those alpha males. He is a big dog at heart. And that's comforting to me because I can speak to somebody like Roman Reigns a lot better than most. And I can speak to Roman Reigns, as I will in this video, and if this ever, I know Roman Reigns will have a lot of time at home upcoming, if this video ever crosses a Roman Reigns, my message to you, Roman Reigns, one alpha male to another, is while I'll give you thoughts and prayers, I'm also going to give you a kick in the ass and tell you to beat the shit out of this cancer. Fuck cancer. Beat the shit out of this disease. Superman punch this thing into oblivion, spear the fuck out of it, and get your ass back home. Because I know that's what you're gonna do. Show this motherfucking disease who the big dog truly is. And get your ass back home. And when you're back home, Roman, I promise you, it's business as usual. You keep lining them up and fucking them up, and I'm gonna keep critiquing. But I'll do it with an extra little bit of a fucking smile when I'm critiquing you, because it's gonna be so good to have you back knowing what you've been through. But I'm not gonna treat you differently, and I know you don't want to be treated differently. When you come back, you're one of the boys again, and you're gonna take the same heat from people like me when we don't think something is right. And I'll do it with a smile, and you'll hear about it, and you'll fucking smile. I know it. Because all will be right with the world again. Our roles will be back. Nobody's gonna be treated differently. I know you're gonna fuck this shit up. I know you're gonna beat it. I know you're gonna come back stronger than ever. For years, since you've been in the WWE at least, you've been the Shield. Now, big dog, it's time to take a step back, relax, and let us be your shield. From your family, to the WWE, to us fans, even the harsher ones like us analysts, critics, pro wrestling enthusiasts. We do it out of love. At the end of the day, we have nothing but love for the people that play these characters, for our superheroes that go out there and entertain us. It's always out of love. And when it's critiqued harshly, that's just tough love. Never for 1 second did I ever hate Roman Reigns. And I always, if you follow this channel religiously from day one, I always said how good he actually was and how good he can be as a character. But as far as Joe, I've always had the nicest things to say about him because that's all I've ever heard. Nothing but the best, big guy. Nothing but the best, big dog. And we'll see you back soon. Love and respect. Whoop its ass. Come back home. But as I stated earlier, the show must go on. That's what we do in the pro wrestling business, and it'll be no different on this Raw review and reaction. Some are saying, what an amazing show. An announcement from Roman Reigns that huge, as if that's supposed to be entertainment. And then Dean Ambrose turning heel on his brother Seth Rollins. Elias turns face, all's right with the world. Raw puts on a good show, right? But did they really? Because 5 days away from Evolution, the all-women's, first ever all-women's pay-per-view, who is talking about the females this morning? Nobody, and I mean nobody, is talking about females this morning. We're talking about the big Roman bombshell, but outside of the real-life situation and scenario that Roman is going through, storyline-wise, we're all talking about Dean Ambrose this morning. Even Elias turning face is on the back burner. All of these things, ain't nobody talking about the females 5 days away from Evolution. That is what made this show a complete failure. Outside of that first segment, which, as unfortunate as it was, it did need to happen. And Roman had the courage to do it in the middle of the ring. What it did, however, was suck the life out of that building. It's exactly what it did. How could it not? One of the faces, whether we like it or not, of WWE, a superhero to so many of us, announces something so tragic. How could the life not be sucked out of that building? Right from the gates, it had just a weird vibe and feel to it. And you say, well, that's the reason the females didn't open the show, because Roman Reigns had this huge announcement to get off his chest. The Universal Championship now vacant. He can no longer compete. So you say, okay, the females will be up next. No. Then they go into Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor as your opening match. The first half an hour of Raw, there's not even mention of females. No mention that an Evolution pay-per-view is around the corner on the horizon. And Bobby Lashley, who just the last several weeks, they started what we thought was going to be a push. A new Bobby Lashley, and he already falls flat on his back 1, 2, 3 to Finn Balor. How hysterical is that? You talk about 50-50 booking and that being the main reason why Vince can no longer create superstars, or why superstars are no longer being created. One of the main reasons is because of 50-50 booking. They no longer create dominating superstars for us to believe they're superstars. Bobby Lashley, looking pretty strong for a couple of weeks in a row, puts Kevin Owens on the shelf, manhandles Tyler Breeze, and then he's just losing to the cruiserweight, Finn Balor. Come on, bro! We all like Finn Balor. We have fun with Finn Balor because he is one of the smaller guys and could have easily been with Neville in the cruiserweights. But we all like Finn. I really love the Demon character. It's a shame he's no longer back. I'm not a big fan of pop collar, cool, always smiling Finn Balor. I'm not a fan so much of that. But how the fuck are you gonna make Bobby Lashley lose to Finn Balor when you've been trying to make, or I use trying loosely, you've been making Bobby Lashley look dominant for several weeks, and then he's already losing in the middle of a Monday Night Raw to Finn Balor. Nothing makes sense on this show. And people find the little things that may have been good, and then they turn around because they don't get a lot of good on Raw lately. And by lately, I mean for years. We haven't been getting anything good. So when people get good things, they put them together and they go, what a great show. But that's what I'm here for. That's why thousands of people click on BC Amplified the next morning, because they need that truth and those facts. They need people like me to dissect every inch of this show. So when you take 2, 3, maybe even 4 good things and you call this a great show, I'm right there in front of this camera letting you guys know, don't be distorted and delusional in your thinking. Trust me when I say it's not as great or as good as you thought it was. From the very first match, that was mind-bogglingly, confusingly stupid as fuck. Even if you're a Finn Balor fan, how the fuck can you justify him being in the ring with Bobby Lashley when in reality neither one of those men could lose? That is 50-50 booking at its worst. But it didn't stop there. Later in the night, Apollo Cruz, who has this new momentum, right? He finally left Titus Worldwide. The past couple weeks, he's looking stronger. And he falls flat on his back to Elias. Again, it's one of those situations where, for me, neither man can really lose. You're trying to make something out of Elias. You want him to turn face later on in the night. But you also can't have Apollo lose because you just started to make him something. 50-50 booking at its worst. We'll let him win a couple weeks, we'll make him lose 3 weeks. We'll make him win 1 week, he'll lose 2 weeks. He'll win 4 weeks, he'll lose 2 weeks in a row. If you're not going to create a superstar, then there's no possible way for us to look at a superstar as such. I hope that makes sense. These wrestlers will never truly become what they're capable of as true superstars if you don't make them as such. If you want to open up a donut shop, but you're not willing to actually make the donuts, well, nobody's going to be able to buy your donuts because there's not going to be any donuts made. They're going to walk into your shop and the shelves will be empty because you didn't make the donuts. So you'll have a line of people who really wanted donuts, but they can't get the donuts because you didn't make the donuts. We want superstars when we tune into these shows. Monday Night Raw is lacking that. Vince McMahon refuses to create and make superstars. So there's a line of us that are waiting for superstars, but they're not showing up. Because Vince ain't making them. He knows the recipe. He knows the ingredients to make this fucking superstar and these superstars, but he refuses. 50-50 booking is much easier for him. Again, wait till the next television deal rolls around. I bet you they're nowhere near the number they just pulled in. When business really starts to sink, you can look no further than Vince failing to make and create new superstars as one of the main components why this company is falling flat on its face. And that's a fact. Apollo Cruz is falling flat on his back, 1, 2, 3. You got Bobby Lashley falling flat on his back, 1, 2, 3. Whether you hate Lashley and hate Cruz, hey, that's fine. But when they just started making something out of the both of them the past couple weeks and all of a sudden, wham, they're just beatable again? Like nothing? Come on, bro. Somebody like BC is not going to be fed that bullshit and accept it and take it. And then in this video go, wow, that was really cool. Finn Balor with an epic win. Elias gets a big win over No, I see the bullshit in it. And that's something I'm not going to hold back my words on. But let's get to the women, right? We talked of fucking Elias beating Apollo and Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley. And by the way, something good before I get to the females, something I did enjoy last night, 2 minutes of entertainment on Raw, who would have thought, was the exchange between Baron Corbin and Elias. And Elias is up on the ramp and he's playing some fucking strings, and Corbin's telling him to get off the stage. He has a huge announcement to make. Business has to be made. And basically, Elias is chump change. And Elias is like, oh, I'm sorry. I totally tuned you out while I was thinking about my next song. Could you do me a favor? Silence your cell phone and shut the fuck up, basically, and remove yourself from the stage? This is when Baron Corbin basically said, get off my stage, or something like you're fired. Or get off my stage or there's going to be repercussions. Some shit where fucking Baron Corbin used his power card, and Elias actually had to leave the stage. But I love the exchange. And as Baron Corbin started to make his way to the ring, about the business at hand, you see Elias in the background come back through the curtain, guitar in hand. He cocks that motherfucker back, and he explodes that guitar onto the back of Baron Corbin, shattering that thing into 1,000 pieces. Corbin's down face first on the ramp, and Elias looking over him. Was it a true face turn? It looked it to me. We'll find out more, obviously, next Monday. But that was a big moment for Elias. And more importantly, for us fans, it was an entertaining moment on Raw. Something we don't get a lot of. So props, kudos, golf clap to that segment. Now, and don't get it twisted. BC, that's why they had him beat Apollo. That's it because he had something bigger later in the night. No, then you don't put him in there with Apollo. That's my point. You just started building up Apollo. Put Apollo in there with a fucking Kurt Hawkins for all I care. Jobber 1 or Jobber 2. Jobber McGee or Jobber McGillicuddy. I don't give a fuck. Hornswoggle or James Ellsworth. Apollo should not have been losing if you're trying to actually build him. That goes to show you they're not actually trying to build Bobby Lashley, and they're not trying to build a fucking... I said fucking Ember Moon. Where the fuck is my head at? Not trying to build Lashley and not trying to build Apollo Cruz. Bottom line, that's what it's telling me. If the company doesn't give a shit about these wrestlers, how the fuck are we going to? But that was good between Baron Corbin and Elias. Interesting to see where that goes from there, because I've really been liking Baron Corbin's work the last several months, and obviously I'm a fan of Elias. I've walked with Elias from day one. So it'll be interesting to see where they're going with that. Now back to the females though, because I started this video out, aside from the whole tragic Roman Reigns scenario and situation we all find ourselves in, the actual review of this video, I started this video out telling you guys that the women were really on the back burner. The women were not a focal point of this show at all. The first half an hour, not even mentioned really. But then you look about their segments. There was 4 female segments last night, and combined, they lasted 21 minutes. 21 minutes for 4 female segments heading into the first ever all-women's pay-per-view Evolution this Sunday. 21 minutes out of 3 hours. Go ahead. Think about it. Close your eyes, look away, turn away, take a moment. I'll give you a moment of silence while you think about 21 minutes is what the females were given this past Monday for their go-home show to Evolution. Think about it. I'll give you a few seconds. You good? Did you let that sink in and digest? Did that settle in with you? Did that sink in a good way? Are you okay with that? Evolution, first ever women's pay-per-view, and 21 minutes. And let's dissect what those segments were. The Battle Royal, they hyped that up by a 4-way match. Dana Brooke was in this thing. I think Nia Jax maybe. Tamina Snuka was in there just to eat the pinfall. And Ember Moon. Ember Moon, who since her debut on the roster after WrestleMania, 7+ months on this roster, has not been in one meaningful match, has not been in one meaningful feud. And she wins last night in about 60 seconds over Tamina Snuka. That's supposed to get us interested in this Battle Royal. They gave this fatal 4-way women's match 1 minute, 60 seconds. And Ember Moon comes out with the victory. Is that their tease to say that Ember is going to win at Evolution? Like they gave us Naomi The big victory of the Battle Royal at WrestleMania, and she never even got her shot at any championship. Now they're going to give Ember Moon, is that their way of saying, oh, we know we fucking put her in obscurity for 7+ months, but we're going to let her win a Battle Royal, and that'll shut everybody up. No, motherfucker. It ain't going to shut up smart motherfuckers like me. B motherfucking C is going to rant and rave to the high fucking heavens, till the moon comes out, till the cows come home. I'm going to rant and rave. You are not going to throw me an Ember Moon Battle Royal victory and think that that's going to make up for 7+ months of putting this amazing female talent on the back burner. Fuck that and fuck you. A 60-second... How are you showcasing Ember Moon the best way possible when you're putting her in a Battle Royal, period? But then, the Monday beforehand, you're putting her in a 60-second Fatal 4-Way match. Tamina Snuka eats the pin. A victory over Tamina Snuka means about as much as a victory over Gilbert or James Ellsworth. It's meaningless. That's how they pumped up the Battle Royal. How did they pump up the 6-woman tag match? Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya are taking on the Riot Squad for the 9,796 fucking time. How did they bump that up? Sasha Banks versus Ruby Riott. Less than 10-minute match. Ruby Riott defeats Sasha Banks 1, 2, 3, middle of the ring. We've seen this before. We've seen Sasha eat the pin from the Riot Squad, every single member, before. Why did I need to see it again on Monday? Why the fuck would I need to see that shit? I've seen Sasha Banks lose to every member of the Riot Squad more than once. Now we're just redundant. Now we're just seeing Sasha just eat the pin another time around. This is like watching your favorite baseball team get struck out by the pitcher, right? 9 batters, 3 innings if you strike them all out. So then by the 4th inning, you start at the top of the order again, and this pitcher is striking them all out again. Inning 4, 5, and 6. So by the 7th inning, it's the 3rd time around, and they're all getting struck out again by the same pitcher. 3 strikeouts in one game for every batter. That's what Sasha Banks is doing. So Sasha eats another pin by the Riot Squad. What does this do for Evolution? Does that mean that Sasha's going to get a huge... Or I'm sorry, WWE.com calls it an epic match between Sasha, Bayley, and Natalya versus the Riot Squad Sunday. An epic match. Gee, what's epic about it? The fact that we've seen it 9,796 times? It might be the one match we've seen more than any other match in the history of WWE. If that's the case, that's pretty fucking epic. So what happens? Does Sasha win that at Evolution? Like Ember Moon, is that win at Evolution, that meaningless win in a meaningless match, is that supposed to make up for all the bullshit that they've endured the past several months, and for Sasha even over a year? No. Ain't gonna work with me. With actual smart fans, it's not gonna work. That's how they bumped up that meaningless 6-woman tag match. Just throw the Riot Squad back out there with Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya. How did they bump up Mickie James and Alexa Bliss versus Trish and Lita? Because Trish and Lita were there last night. They put him in the backstage with Charlie Caruso, and they had Alicia Fox and Mickie James jump Trish and Lita. That's right. This was so bad that they actually had Alicia Fox do the jumping and not Alexa Bliss. I don't care how injured Alexa Bliss is. You can't have her come in there and hit somebody with a few boots. Alicia Fox gets in there? That's how bad this lack of feud and lack of story is with Mickie James and fucking Alexa Bliss and Trish and Lita. It's horrible. There is no story. There is no feud. I don't even care about Mickie James and Trish's past. There's no story. Alicia fucking Fox is fighting Trish and Lita, and she's not even in the match Sunday. Are you letting this sink in how bad this was last night? And that was their whole segment. They just did some backstage brawl. BC, you love backstage brawls. Yeah, not when it's next to Charlie Caruso. Not when it's not even with the individual that's going to be in the match at the pay-per-view. And not when it lasts 2 fucking minutes. And it's a back and forth jumping. It should be one fucking team or one individual beating the fuck out of the other. This was Alicia and Mickie James jumping Lita and Trish. And somehow Lita and Trish got the upper hand. And they're standing tall at the end of it. And again, this was only a couple minutes. But that was how they built up that pay-per-view match. Are you excited? Are you fucking intrigued? Do you need to see the ultimate payoff for Trish and Lita to get their revenge? No, there's no revenge to get. Trish and Lita just beat the shit out of Mickey and stood tall. And they added Alicia Fox with it. Was that a message sent to Alexa Bliss? Oh, that makes me excited for Sunday. And then they hyped up Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella, which we think is going to be the main event of Evolution. They hyped this up with a contract signing. Table in the ring, you think something cool, something epic is going to happen? Nope, just some words. Ronda Rousey with another stinger to the Bellas, saying that if I let one of you beat me, or any of you beat me with my hands tied behind my back, then my mother would be ashamed of me. That was a zinger. Ronda Rousey has been working with Paul Heyman, and it's showing. Ronda Rousey's promos are kicking ass. The Bellas tried to make Ronda Rousey break her word and her promise because Ronda Rousey said, I'm not going to beat you up at this contract signing. I give you my word. That's how we do it at contract signings, meaning that she's more professional coming from UFC than the Bellas. And the Bellas went in there and tried to provoke Ronda, and it didn't work. So I like the little bit of friction, but then it just ended with the contract signing, and Ronda walks away. A little badassery, looking into the Bellas' eyes and saying, I will end you. And then she walks away. We fade to black. Was that enough to really make us give a fuck about Sunday's Evolution main event? Not for me. Last week's promo by Ronda Rousey got me more interested than this week's contract signing. That's not good. This was a go-home show. It's got to be more epic than anything you've ever done before. And that was it, guys. That was your 4 segments. 21 minutes in total, and not one thing got me more excited for Evolution. In fact, by the end of the night, Evolution was behind everybody's radar. Evolution wasn't even in our minds as Raw went off there. And I'm not even talking about the emotional feeling that we have to the whole Roman Reigns situation. I'm talking about storylines. We're talking about Elias. We're talking about Dean Ambrose. Ain't nobody talking about any of this Evolution bullshit because that's what it is. An event that I'm actually was, from the moment it was announced, looking forward to. WWE went out of its way to do everything possible to make us not look forward to it. And that's why I say this show failed. Because let's not forget what it was. This was a go-home show to Evolution. And it was everything but that. It did nothing for its female superstars. It did nothing for Evolution. And this goes to show you, Vince McMahon really, deep down, he don't give a fuck about the females. Never did. Before I get into the main event, which was a rematch, another Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler match. Let's talk about Paul Heyman coming out, cutting a promo, an emotional promo about Roman Reigns, but then he goes into character and he says, you can't compete, that's on you. My man, my beast, my monster, Brock Lesnar, he will take that championship on November 2nd at Crown Jewel because that's the new match. For the championship, the vacant title will be against Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. That'll decide who the new Universal Champion is. So Paul Heyman went into promo mode, talking about how Brock is going to destroy Braun. Braun comes down like a face, talking about how he's going to destroy Brock and take the championship and bring it back home. And talks about how when Roman comes back from kicking this disease's ass, Roman's got one of the first cracks at the title. That gets a little bit of a pop. I don't know who's face anymore, who's not. This is all fucking confusing to me. And then Drew McIntyre comes out of nowhere. Claymore kicks the shit out of Braun Strowman. I don't know if Drew McIntyre is supposed to be heading toward a face turn. If Drew McIntyre is supposed to be the dastardly heel. Is Braun Strowman the dastardly? I don't even know, and Vince McMahon doesn't even know. And even worse, Vince McMahon doesn't even give a fuck anymore. That's what it seems like to me. Vince McMahon has his head so far up the XFL's ass. Triple H has his head so far up NXT's ass. Stephanie McMahon has her head so far up the next women's movement in the world's ass. Nobody gives a fuck about WWE anymore. It's like Nia Jax, the Big Show, and Kane. Everybody's turning heel every other week, except for the people that we fucking know have to turn like Roman Reigns or a John Cena for their careers, for the product, in an effort to create new superstars, but they won't turn heel. They'll turn everyone else heel 75 times. Mind-boggling to me. But that was Braun Strowman getting Claymore kicked. Let's just talk right into the main event. Again, this was a rematch. Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler versus Seth and Dean for the tag titles. I'm thinking the whole time, I don't give a fuck about this match. What does this do for Evolution? This is a go-home show to Evolution, and I have this nonsensical tag team title match that I've seen 1,000 times. And even if Dean and Seth get the titles, I'm thinking, then what, they're stuck together? Now, we found out at the end of this match, after Seth and Dean won the titles, yes, they defeated Drew and Dolph to become new tag team champions. As if I give a fuck. But then at the end, yeah, we were all shocked. Dean Ambrose turns on Seth Rollins, dirty deeds on the championship belts, takes him to the outside, flings him over tables, fucks him up, throwing those bows in there heavily like somebody he actually hates. It was played off well. This is huge for Dean Ambrose. This should have been done a long time ago. I questioned the timing on it last night. I saw on social media a lot of people going, perfect timing. Perfect timing right after Roman to do this. It's going to garner more heat. I call bullshit. I say this was the worst timing because any steam, any momentum, and any talk that you had for the females going into Sunday, gone. The talk this week will be about Dean Ambrose, as it should, because that was an epic heel turn. That was a big moment and a big turn for Dean Ambrose in his career. It was a big moment for wrestling fans. It was a big moment for the company. And they chose to do it 6 nights last night, 6 nights from Evolution, their first ever all-women's pay-per-view. Why would Vince McMahon go out of his way to sabotage this pay-per-view? Because that's what he did. I have no idea. The Roman Reigns headline alone was going to take all the thunder away from Evolution. That's through no fault of anybody. That was just Roman getting that off his chest. But the downside of that is Evolution was going to suffer this week because that was going to be the headline. But Vince went a step further, and he actually did the Dean heel turn last night. If that's not a fuck you to Evolution and to all those females, I don't know what is. That is as high as you can go with fuckery, with Vince trolling the females. So the ending went off for Raw last night. We faded to black. And you have Dean Ambrose going up the crowd like the Shield would come through the crowd to get to the ring. Dean Ambrose was leaving through the crowd, and fans were shouting at him, and he was getting the heat. And it went off great. I question the timing. I really do. Why would you choose that moment, putting them in the main event, that big of a heel turn, that big of a moment, on the go-home show to your all-women's first ever pay-per-view for the women, Evolution? I can keep repeating the same fucking thing. It will get me no results. I have no clue what is going through Vince McMahon's head anymore. You couldn't have Roman Reigns just have his fucking night. You couldn't let the females have their night, put them in the main event, do something epic with them. Just for 1 week, for one Raw, give them the spotlight. To something actually meaningful. BC, the women have had main events before. Yeah, I'm talking about something super meaningful like Evolution. This is the time they needed that main event spot. Was it that necessary to have Dean Ambrose turn heel last night? The answer is no. Nothing you can create and type down is going to change my mind. I've already dissected this. The females got treated like shit last night. 21 minutes, unacceptable. Susan G. Komen gets more time than Ember Moon. Shit, gets more time than Sasha Banks on Monday Night Raw. Susan G. Komen was in that segment was 5 to 10 minutes last night. Ember Moon gets a 60-second match. That's everything. That's everything, man. Last night's Raw had a little bit of emotion in everything. But will I call it a good show? Absolutely not. Because the one main goal that they had to drive home was make people give a fuck about Evolution. Way more than we have in previous weeks. Because we failed at it. And they failed to do that last night. You could say the Elias turn was so epic. You could tell me the Dean Ambrose turn was so epic. Whatever the fuck else you want to tell me was epic, which there was nothing. They failed to do the one main thing they had to do. It was a go-home show to Evolution. I don't know how many more times I have to fucking say that for people to realize that. This wasn't just some normal Monday Night Raw where some good things happened. This was a Raw that needed and had purpose, or had to have had purpose, and it didn't. We go on to SmackDown tonight, and I can only hope that they treat their females much better than Raw did theirs. Because this was an absolute fucking failure. Top to bottom. And then we go on after tonight, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 5 days, right? 5 days away from Evolution. And I'm just hoping we give a fuck about it, man. Because these ladies deserve it. They bust their ass in there, dude. They really, really do. And there's some incredible talent that are stuck in battle royals or nonsensical 6-woman tags. I thought this was what Evolution was supposed to be, to get away from those 6-woman tag matches, to get away from the battle royals, to show that we have evolved and that they can have meaningful feuds and meaningful storylines, meaningful one-on-one matches. It's not an evolution at all. It may have just gotten worse. I'm the Amplified Man. Again, Roman Reigns, beat the shit out of this disease, man. Come back home stronger than ever. You have all of our thoughts and prayers, and also ass kickings. We're kicking your ass into shape and into gear to fuck this disease up. And we know you're going to. So, again, as I stated earlier in this video, stop being the Shield for a few months at least. Let us be your fucking shield. We'll help you every step of the way. Nothing but the best. Thoughts and prayers. Love and respect to Roman Reigns. We love you, Joe. Check you later.